Montgomery County's radio station with talk, music, weather, and traffic for Montgomery County. Have a question or comment about one of our shows? Want to know how to reach a host? Just contact the station at irlonestar.com or call in and leave a message at 936-647-3776. Get involved with your community with Lone Star Community Radio.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Hello, everyone. I am Margie Taylor, your host for Conroe Culture News, FM 104.5, 106.1. This is live on Facebook, Conroe Culture News. It's YouTube live, and there will be a link to the show afterwards. And it is live streaming on irlonestar.com. We are broadcasting live from downtown Conroe at the Conroe Tower, Conroe City Hall, and Lone Star Community Radio. So today we're going to have some candidates come on the show because it's almost time for the primaries. And today is the last day to register to vote as well, February 5th. So if you haven't done that, I believe you can go online, go to mctx.org and scroll down to elections would probably be the easiest way to do that. Or look for Montgomery County elections. Just Google that and make sure that you are registered. Early voting starts February 20th through March 1st, and Election Day is March 5th, I believe. Tuesday, March 5th. You know, it's always on Tuesday. So I will have a candidate for Sheriff Wesley Doolittle will be in the first segment, and Daniel Pena, candidate for Constable in Precinct 2, will be in the second segment. This show is sponsored by Roger Stein Chiropractic and the Lake Conroe Realty Group with Vinnie Sinisi. And the Lake Conroe Group serves as the best place to go for buying, selling, or investing in real estate. All you have to do is contact Vinnie Sinisi because it's an easy name to remember. Roger Stein Chiropractic is located at 3033 West Davis by Conroe High School and Taco Bell, and they have been serving the community for so many years, treating everyone from infants to seniors, weekend athletes, to professionals with a focus on natural holistic healing, not only to relieve pain, but achieve optimal health. Dr. Stacy Rogers holds certifications in adjusting extremities, arm, legs, hands, feet, clinical nutrition, prenatal, and pediatric care. New patients, it's only $37, and you get all the x-rays, and every bit of it, all of the proceeds, all the $37 goes back to CASA, Kids in the Child Welfare System. So, a few things going on around us right now. We are into February, folks. You know, we're going to be over with the first quarter of 2024 pretty soon. But don't start your planting yet because, you know, we always have more freezes. This is just a little bit of a brief break. So there's a pop-up venue in downtown Conroe, and they were open for vendors during Christmas, and now it's a permanent venue, and it's in the Old State Building at 213 Thompson, and it's called Conroe Collective. It's the old place where the Republican Party office used to be. So they will have bakery items, Turkish chocolate, clothing, jewelry, seasonal items, decor from different local vendors. So Conroe Collective is operated by Farrellyn Withrow, and she's the one that runs the Saturday morning Main Street Market in front of the courthouse every Saturday morning. This is the last weekend coming up, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for Wait Until Dark. And that is the show that is happening at the Owen Theater. And I know we've talked about this before, but both theaters, our community theaters, are all run by volunteers. And so you need to go and appreciate it. This one is Wait Until Dark. It's a thriller It's actually from 1967 that starred Audrey Hepburn as a blonde woman, and she is terrified by a trio of men that come in to rob her and what happens. And she turns out she's pretty capable, because in the dark, she waits until dark and they can't see, but she's used to it and knows what goes on in her apartment. So again, that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Get your tickets at owentheater.com. Next up is West Side Story at the Crichton Theater. We know that story. It's about two gang rivalries out in New York's West Side, and a little battle. That is a musical, but get tickets for that at thecrichtontheater.org, and that will start February 11th. So that's only a week away, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Again, the 11th Annual Montgomery County Historical Road Rally is set for Saturday afternoon, February 17th, in collaboration with the 50th anniversary of the Woodlands. The first 150 registered participants will receive the attached souvenir. They'll get a special button recognizing the Woodlands founder, George Mitchell. So that's a fun thing, a little road rally. And you can go to the Montgomery County Historical Commission to find out more about that. So what else is coming up? Valentine's Day. You know what happens if you forget Valentine's Day? It's not good. So there's a few things you can do. There's Valentine's Trivia with Pacific Yard House on Wednesday, February 14th. That sounds like fun. All things rom-com, because, romantic comedy. They will have an event at 202 Main, February 16th. And you can also spend the weekend at Margaritaville. They have reduced hotel rates, special dinner, February 10th and February 14th. So start planning, start thinking ahead. Don't wait till February 14th to do something. And I believe it's on a Wednesday. And actually that starts Lent too. That's the first day of Lent. That's Ash Wednesday. So Mardi Gras is right before that. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to hear back in our first segment from Wesley Doolittle. He is a candidate for sheriff in Montgomery County.
Team Sinisi is a proud sponsor of Conroe Culture News. Vinny Sinisi and his professional team provide comprehensive real estate services throughout the greater Montgomery County area and beyond. Whether looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, Team Sinisi has an impeccable reputation. Contact Team Sinisi for a great experience at teamsinisi.com. That's TEAMSINISI.com.
Since 2004, Roger Stein Chiropractic has offered spine and joint manipulation services to residents of Montgomery County and surrounding areas. Conditions treated include lower back pain, migraines, headaches, whiplash, carpal tunnel, neck pain, sciatica, joint pain, sports injuries, herniated discs, and complications from pregnancy. Roger Stein Chiropractic, led by Dr. Stacy Rogers and Dr. Brian McGee, is an integrity-verified chiropractic clinic. Call 936-441-9990 for an appointment, or visit rogerssteinchiropractic.com. That's RODGERSSTEIN chiropractic.com.
Hello, everyone. So sitting across the table from me right now is Wesley Doolittle. And if you have not seen the signs around town, I don't know what to tell you. Either you haven't left your house or something. I think they all went up right after Christmas, something like that. Is that how that works, Wesley? That everybody starts then in January putting out the signs for election, things like that. Anyway, so Wesley has been in law enforcement for a period of time. Right? How long?
For 23 years.
23 years. So he's going to tell us a little bit about himself. But before we do that, everybody is given opportunities to come on my show. And that any candidates can come on. All they have to do is send me an email, send me a text, go on Conroe Culture News on Facebook or through irlonestar.com. And get a hold of me if they would like to come on the show Mondays at noon to 1 to talk about their candidacy. Okay, with that said, Wesley, you've had how many years of experience?
Right at 23.
23. So how did you get started in law enforcement?
Well, when I graduated high school, I was working as a pipe fitter's helper at an industrial refrigeration company, and I did that for almost 8 years. That was in 1992 when I graduated. And then about 98, I started feeling a strong desire to go into law enforcement. I had wanted to go in the military when I graduated high school. I got married and I didn't do it. So in 1998, I started the police academy at Lone Star College, and it was called North Harris College back then. I had a couple friends that were highway patrolmen. My dad was in the Air Force. My family's been in the military a lot before me. And I just had a strong
There's a
desire
lot of
to serve.
similarities between the military and law enforcement, isn't there?
I think so. It's a paramilitary organization.
Yeah. Strict guidelines, all of that. Boundaries,
Yes. Rules, things like
rules,
that.
all those things you have to obey.
Yes. So
Okay.
I just had a strong desire to go into law enforcement. And I did the basic reserve academy at Lone Star College. And I applied to DPS in 1999, or Texas Department of Public Safety. And I did not get picked up the first round. And then my second round, I got picked up in 2000, and I've been in law enforcement ever since.
Okay. And you are running for Montgomery County Sheriff.
I am.
Why?
It's there's no.
It's a big role.
Yeah, right, and there's not a quick answer. There are lots of reasons why I decided to run for sheriff. I'm real good friends with Sheriff Tommy Gage. I worked here in the sheriff's department or sheriff's office for 4 years as a Texas Ranger when Sheriff Gage was in office. So I worked with them day in and day out at the sheriff's office, doing officer-involved shootings, homicides, sexual assaults, violations of civil rights, jail deaths, and things like that. So I had a really good working relationship with the sheriff's office. And I worked in and out of many sheriff's offices as a ranger. And when I started to see there were issues in the leadership of the sheriff's office, I decided to put my name in the hat and to run to be the sheriff.
When did you decide?
I think that I had thought about it for some time, and ultimately I made my decision last January.
Okay. So it's been simmering for a little over a year.
Right. Well, I've been running I filed, I think it was end of January last year in 23.
You can file that far ahead?
I did. Well, I filed for my treasury. That
Okay,
way I could
so
announce.
you can start fundraising and all of that. Yes.
And publicly announce it to where
Okay.
you stay
Wow.
within the rules.
Yeah. So all the rules.
Right.
So what are the qualifications to be a sheriff?
You have to be a peace officer and have your license, live in the county, things like that. So
There's no age restrictions or anything like that?
Yeah, you have to be 21 to be a
So
commissioned
it's
police
pretty
officer.
simple, pretty minimum. Okay, so you meet the qualifications, of course. How? Tell me how you would take on this role differently than predecessors.
Right, so I'm endorsed by Sheriff Tommy Gage and Sheriff Joe Corley, and I still talk to Sheriff Guy Williams. 36 years of law enforcement experience at the highest level in Montgomery County, and I counsel with those guys. I have talked to them about the direction Sheriff's Department's in now, and they do not believe it's heading in the right direction. So
How so?
Well, throughout the community, sheriffs should be involved in their community and the day-to-day things that are occurring, be well known throughout the community, and be able to work with all law enforcement and all elected officials to keep this community safe. And that wasn't occurring under this administration, so it's something people desired change in. And when I started evaluating how the sheriff's office is functioning through the leadership, I think it's well known that throughout the sheriff's first administration, there were terrible turmoil and turnover. And that raised awareness that there were problems in leadership. So when you start evaluating their ability to solve crime, I found that according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, since 2017 through 2022, that crime had nearly doubled in Montgomery County, the index crimes reported to the sheriff's office. Then I started evaluating through the Texas Department of Public Safety's website that the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office was not solving crime like they could. And working with the deputies that are in the office now, and I want them to know that I appreciate the work that they do every day, and I fully understand that the problems within the sheriff's office, they lie squarely on the sheriff's shoulders, not the deputies, because they work hard every day, and I appreciate the work that they do. I want them to know that, because I've heard rumors that people say I don't, but I truly do. And looking at the crime rates and how they're not solving crime in the county, I'm aware that the dispatchers were 17 people short at budget time last year, and the sheriff's office missed nearly 33,000 911 calls last year alone. That's people's calls that went unanswered and they were not served.
Is there documentation to that?
Oh, yes. I did open records request and got those numbers. And I didn't just get them for this year. I got them for a period of years. And there's a sustained pattern that this has been a complete failure in their administration, that we should not be missing one 911 call. Those calls are people that are in crisis. Those calls are people suffering from mental health issues. They're involved in car accidents, have had victims of theft, robbery, all these types of things that people call law enforcement for. And we have a duty and an obligation to serve them.
So do you have something you would put in place so that calls are answered?
I do. I have ideas. I've visited with the other 911 stakeholders and things like that, and there are ways that we can improve it. I've visited with those folks that are working in dispatch, and a dispatcher even went to Commissioner's Court and told these problems to the commissioners during budget this last year. So we also had other issues with understaffing in the motor vehicle theft unit and also within the traffic unit in the sheriff's office. So these are things that I see that they're not forward thinking. We're not serving our community well, and I'd like the opportunity to fix those.
So that's your why, mostly?
Yes, the big why.
To serve the community.
Oh yeah.
Better.
I'm a people person. I love being in this community. I'm a vicious crime fighter. I've battled violent crime. I worked on the Texas-Mexico border as a Texas Ranger. I worked in Houston. I worked in Harris
So you have
County.
a bigger scope than just Montgomery County that you have seen.
Absolutely.
Much larger picture, in other words.
I think big picture wise, when we look at the industry, not just the organization here, that my network and my experiences across the state of Texas, I've traveled out of state and worked on homicides and things like that. But my network within the state of Texas is huge. And that's something I think will benefit us in the sheriff's office here.
Okay. You have a different perspective
I do
than
think
our,
so.
our sheriff right now. Okay. So how would you improve safety? Would that be the way you would do that, is better communication and better answering of calls?
I think it's, yes, being involved in the community, I think the sheriff
Because
is,
safety is the number one thing.
absolutely. Our population's growing. Violent crime is coming here from Harris County and across the state. As our population grows, so will our crime. More people, more crime. And that's something I'm passionate about. Been endorsed by multiple other organizations like the Harris County Deputies Association, Harris County Deputy Constables Association, the Houston Metro Police Officers Association, the Montgomery County Professional Firefighters Association. And these are not figureheads. These are people that have interest in public safety, that they're boots on the ground people. They are working every day to try to improve public safety here and to make sure that we don't fall to the same thing Harris County has, and that we're effectively solving crime and arresting people and putting
Yeah,
them
we
in
don't want to be
jail.
like Harris County.
We do not. But I'm afraid of that. And I have 4 children. My wife and I live here in Montgomery. I worry about not just my children, but my friends' kids and those people that live in this community that I care about. And I want the opportunity to serve them as the sheriff, to make sure we're doing everything we can to keep our community safe.
What do you think about programs in the schools and the shooter programs and things like that for the public? Is that something you had in mind, public education kind of things as well to keep people safe?
Right.
Or have you implemented anything like that in the past?
Specifically looking at schools, I've investigated school shootings. I worked on the Santa Fe High School shootings, and I've seen the results of mass violence, and it's very concerning to me. I do believe that we have to stay on top of public safety in the schools and elsewhere. When people are exhibiting tendencies or manifesting information that leads us to believe that something like this may be happening, we have to pay attention. I know I'm the only candidate that's worked on a mass homicide. I know that I've been called to schools. I've been called to a local school here in Montgomery County where there was a former student threatening to do violence in the school. I was able to solicit a confession from that person and charge him accordingly and bring that case to the district attorney's office. I also worked on another case where a young man had murdered his entire family in another county and came here and had been sitting out in front of a school and intended to do violence to the children when they came out for the day.
It's frightening.
It's very frightening. And because of our diligence and because of our hard work, we were able to get that guy in custody. And during his confession, he told us he did intend to do a school shooting here in Montgomery County. But because of the work we did with the Rangers and the other law enforcement organizations, I fully believe we prevented that from happening here.
Well, I know our district attorney is working very heavily on crimes against children.
Yes.
And internet crimes and his whole task force and things like that. Would you be, or have you been participating with him on things like that?
So I'm a captain of the Precinct 1 Constable's office now for Constable Philip Cash, and I supervise the sergeant that supervises the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force here at the DA's office. I work
So you're very involved with that as well.
hand in hand with him. I've done interviews. I've helped him talk to people, helped to further those investigations by reviewing their plans and giving them direction on cases where they may not have certain expertise or where they needed contacts across the state to help further.
Is that a big problem in
investigations.
our county?
Internet crimes against children? I think it's a problem all across our country, all across our nation, internationally as well. I know of active investigations that are disturbing. They are something that we should be paying attention to, and every agency should be participating in their Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. It's something we should remain diligent about. And as far as I know, the Sheriff's Office does not have one person assigned to that task force.
Interesting. So what have we not talked about that you would like people to know about you or your platform?
I want people to know that I didn't just move here. I know people say that.
How long have you lived here?
I went to school in Splendora from the 3rd grade to the 10th grade, and I graduated in high school.
I thought
high
you were
school
from East
Cleveland.
County. Yeah.
I am, and my family's been from here since the early 1800s. My great-grandfather's buried in Splendora Cemetery. My grandpa's buried in Morgan Cemetery. My mom's family's been here for a very long time, and I grew up here. I know the community, I know the culture, and I know the problems that we're going to be facing in the future because I've seen them on the border. I've seen them in Harris County. My experience as a Texas Ranger uniquely qualifies me for this job. I've also taken the time to educate myself by earning a bachelor's degree in criminal justice administration and a master's degree in criminal justice leadership and management from Sam Houston State University. So my education, I've got over 7,000 professional hours of training and most of it's in violent crime, interview and interrogation, crime scene investigations, and things like that. I understand how to solve crime. I've worked transnational gangs, drug cartels, and organized crime my entire career.
Are you a team player?
Absolutely. I think that my endorsement should show that I'm law enforcement's choice. I'm endorsed by 2 former sheriffs, supported by the other one, endorsed by the many chiefs, current Sheriff Otto Honig, a Washington County Sheriff, former U.S. Marshal Gary Blankenship, and all the unions and stuff that I've worked with. I feel strong about my connections and relationships are they're just vitally important to me, and my network is huge. So when it comes to working with other agencies, I won't weaponize my office against other agencies, and I'll work with all the constables and all the police chiefs, the firemen, the EMS, and all those folks that have a stake in public safety here to make sure that Montgomery County is a safer place under my watch.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add? How would somebody get in touch with you? Or do you have a forum coming up soon?
Yes, I can go to doolittleforsheriff.com and visit my website. They can also go to Wesley Doolittle for Sheriff 2024 on Facebook. Please like and share my page with your friends. If you've got any questions, you can reach out to me through that. I'd appreciate that. I have a forum tonight in Magnolia with the Montgomery County Republican Club, and we've had a lot of forums. They can also go online, probably check out the Montgomery County Police Reporter and Google Sheriff's Debates and see some of the stuff that I've been saying to get a good broad picture, because it's hard in forums to get your message out because some people give you a minute or two.
Limited amount of time, yeah.
Yes, and it's hard to get a big message out there in just a minute, or to answer a question and let people know who you are. So I'd encourage people to research your candidates, find out how we've been doing and what we've done in the past. I'd also like to point them to the Texas Department of Public Safety's website, to the crime records, so they can go onto that, look at crime per jurisdiction, and see what the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office reported to DPS. Those are facts. The Sheriff's Office administration reported them to the state as they were required to do, and the numbers speak for themselves. And I talk about them a lot because they mean a lot to me. Mm-hmm. Also to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, crime statistics, or Crime Data Explorer, and look at crime in Montgomery County over this administration, and you can see that it's gone up nearly 50%. And we're not less safe today than we were under Tommy Gage's administration, and that's a big reason why I'm running. So I hope people will look at those things and talk to their local deputies and ask them about who they support for sheriff and why. So those are some of the things that I want to talk about.
Get educated, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You should always be educated before you vote. Don't just blindly take a card and vote straight out. No, ask questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Last thing.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you for having me on your show. I appreciate you, and if you're allowing me to come on and give me a platform to talk about some of these things, I appreciate you very much.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. So early voting starts, when did we say? February 20th. Mm-hmm. Through March 1st, and February 5th is Tuesday, Election Day for the primaries.
I'd like to have your vote and your support.
Okay. Thanks, Wesley.
Thank you.
Since 2004, Roger Stein Chiropractic has offered spine and joint manipulation services to residents of Montgomery County and surrounding areas. Conditions treated include lower back pain, migraines, headaches, whiplash, carpal tunnel, neck pain, sciatica, joint pain, sports injuries, herniated discs, and complications from pregnancy. Roger Stein Chiropractic, led by Dr. Stacy Rogers and Dr. Brian McGee, is an integrity-verified chiropractic clinic. Call 936-441-9990 for an appointment, or visit rogerssteinchiropractic.com. That's RODGERSSTEIN chiropractic.com.
Team Sinisi is a proud sponsor of Conroe Culture News. Vinny Sinisi and his professional team provide comprehensive real estate services throughout the greater Montgomery County area and beyond. Whether looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, Team Sinisi has an impeccable reputation. Contact Team Sinisi for a great experience at teamsinisi.com. That's TEAMSINISI.com.
A Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internship opportunities, a Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to grab the mic and be on the air. Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world all year round. Be an on-air personality, talk show producer, or YouTube, TV, podcast editor. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776.
We are ready for our second segment again, and I want to reiterate once again that everyone is free to come on the show if they're a candidate. They just need, they can't all come at once. We do have a little bit of organization here. Reach out to me on Facebook, Conroe Culture News, or to Dick on irlonestar.com. Or if you have my phone number, send me a text. Anyway, let me know that you're interested in coming on the show. Mondays at noon to 1, and we'll make it happen. So election day for the primaries is on Tuesday, March
5th.
The 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
1 month from now.
Correct.
The primaries start February 20th.
Early voting, yes.
Yes, early voting. Okay. All right. So sitting across the table from me right now is Daniel Pena. He is a candidate for Constable Precinct 2, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're still running, right?
I am, yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. So, Daniel, you've been in law enforcement, right? Isn't that a requirement? You have to have some knowledge of law enforcement?
It's not a requirement to
Oh,
run.
it's not?
No, you could actually run without being a licensed peace officer. You have a certain amount of time after getting elected.
Oh, so
to
I
get
could
it.
run.
Correct. You could, yes. Yes.
Okay, so you and another gentleman are both running for Constable Precinct 2,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
You're replacing Gene DeForest.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's been in office for a long time.
Going on 24 years.
24 years. So it's time. He's ready to stop.
Yes,
right?
correct.
Nice, great guy, friend of mine. Okay, so why? Why are you doing this?
Well, it's in my heart. I've always wanted to do it. Ever since I was a kid, I knew I'd run for public office. I just didn't know for what yet. Getting into law enforcement, seeing a countywide race just wasn't for me. I wanted a little smaller, and I want to give back to the community. My whole life, I've been a public servant, first responder, and so I think as a constable, I could really do good for our constituents in the Precinct 2 area.
So this is the very first time you've run for?
No, I ran last time. This is my second
Okay.
second
All
term.
right, so you're going to give it a shot.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's hard running against an incumbent, right?
It is, yes. I made it into the runoff with him, and I unfortunately fell short in the runoff. But it was a COVID election, so I think that had a lot to do with it.
I remember that. Yes. And what is your role right now? What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm the I'm the manager of training operations for the Montgomery County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management.
And what does that mean?
I'm the manager. So we have this new school in New Caney, the reality-based training center, where we specialize and focus on special threats, active shooter threats.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's newly formed. We just we got funded by the state. We opened our doors October 1st. We have 6 SO deputies, a lieutenant and a sergeant, and we have 5 from our office. So we're a state asset. So anybody in the state, not even in the state, in the country, could come train there. And we give them, it's a former high school converted into a training facility.
Okay. Well, that's a step up of what we need to be doing.
Yes, ma'am.
So what would your role be as constable?
Well, I'd be the elected official, the department head. I'd have all the deputies underneath me and be the policymaker for the agency. I think that agency needs new policy, new direction. So that's what I would provide.
So you would bring it up to Commissioner's Court
Correct.
to get it approved.
Correct.
Is the normal procedure?
Yes, yeah. I mean,
of getting it. You don't get to make your own rules.
Well,
kind of, but you do.
Policy, yes, but when it comes to funding and personnel, increasing and stuff like that, yes, it has to go in front of Commissioner's Court. But when it comes to policy, as long as it doesn't, affect county policy or break the law, then yes.
Okay. How many people would be under your leadership?
There's about 30 people right now, full-time employees. That includes sworn and civilian. And then he has currently a good-sized reserve corps and mounted posse. The reserve corps are sworn peace officers, but they're not full-time employees. They kind of volunteer. They work for free, per se, in law enforcement. They might have other jobs in other areas. Some might be retired, So, and then the mounted posse is horseback. People who give back to the community by providing extra eyes for the constable's office.
And that's generally events and things, right?
Events during the holidays. I see them a lot at the Kroger place on 336. They usually do extra patrol to
A little
help
bit
with
more.
to help with combat burglary, motor vehicle type stuff.
So is the office still going to be located over there on Main Street in downtown Conroe?
As of
Or
right
is
now,
that
yes.
moving? Okay.
I don't know. There was
'Cause
talks
I know
about
there's
moving.
doing some growth over there.
There was talks about moving. I don't know if anything's been set in concrete as of now. I think everything was put on hold until after the election.
Okay. So what are the qualifications that you possess to run for constable?
Well, I've been a peace officer for over 20 years. I have my master peace officer, and I have my undergrad in Homeland Security and Emergency Management, fancy title for counterterrorism, and my master's degree in security management. And so I've been with the sheriff's office. Well, prior to my current position, I was with the sheriff's office for about 20 years. And in that capacity, I was on our SWAT team. I was a team leader in our SWAT team, and I ran our dignitary protection detail, which focused on all elected officials that came through Montgomery County that requested extra security. President Trump, when he came for the rally, I provided security for that event. I helped Secret Service plan our route for that motorcade. When Donald Trump Jr. came in with Senator Cruz several years ago, I did that. Most of it was done with Congressman Brady. When he was in the area, I provided security for him. So anybody in significance, I provide security. So I ran that detail from that. So I have a lot of leadership, not just supervisory, but leadership experience. And I think that's one of the qualifications to be the constable.
Okay, very well said. So what is your unique difference to your opponent?
I think
How do you differ from
I think
each
my
other?
commitment to myself and to my coworkers. Yeah, I'm a father of 7. And,
7?
7, yes. Father of 7. Grandfather to 1, soon to be a second one. But I worked on my education already having all 7. I mean, I started late for my education, but I worked through at night. I did all online training, online classes.
You're motivated.
I did.
Perseverance,
I did.
determined, all of that.
Yeah, so I worked full time, and I also coached Little League at the time. So I was coaching my kids in sports. So I'd get done with that, I'd go home, and I'd open up the computer and I'd start working. So I was committed to improving myself, and I'm also that way when I like to say I'm a people builder. I have some of my former SWAT teammates and SO deputies that I worked with. I always encourage them to go out and seek professional licenses and training because, God forbid you get hurt in this job. I mean, your feet, you have to be upright to be able to do this job. So you have to have a second ability or way to earn living besides, in law enforcement. So I was always a big motivator, big pusher for the guys to go out. So I think I'm a people builder is what I like to say.
Well, and to be in a leadership role, you have to have people that are following you, right?
Correct.
You're not a leader if there's no one there.
Correct. Correct.
So,
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So tell me what you think would be your approach to the role that would be different than what Constable DeForest is doing.
Well, I mean, I can't speak for Constable DeForest or what's happening inside, because they don't really
I'm not
share.
saying he's doing bad or
Right,
anything.
right.
I'm just saying, how would it be different?
I think the culture. I'm big. I'm very much a family man, and I feel that everybody I've worked with. When I was at emergency management, some of my planners that I worked with, I knew their husband's name. I knew their kids' names. I'm not saying he doesn't. I don't know, but I've had supervisors that didn't care to learn the family members of their employees, and I think we're all family. If I like to say happy home, it makes for a good employee because a lot of people bring a lot of baggage to work with them of what's happening at home. So I think a family culture, it starts from the top down. And like I said, I like to get to know my employees. Every time I've been in a supervisor or in a leadership role, I like to get to know everybody. So I think family culture would be the biggest one.
Okay. So how would you improve safety for your community in Precinct 2?
Oh, that's a good question. So like I said, I'm big on training. I've been in law enforcement a little over 20 years, and I have quite a bit of professional hours in training. So I think I like my belief and my thinking is a well-trained officer reduces liability and excessive force and good quality reports, so less time in court. just I think that really helps with the safety of the community. So my commitment to the community would be we're going to have some of the best trained deputies in Precinct 2. And I'm not going to cut corners on training. I have connections where, not necessarily connections, but I know where there's free training that's provided by the feds. I know where, being on SWAT, I have a lot of connections still with those guys, and most of them are all instructors. So we could beg, barter, and steal training from them. So I could bring them in to train our guys, and I could go in and train some of their guys, because I am a licensed paramedic as well. So I still do a lot of medical training on the side.
What is the biggest role of the people that work in the constable's office? What do they do day in and day out that's different from the sheriff, that's different from City of Conroe Police?
So their constitutional responsibility is civil process. That's first and foremost. If they did nothing else, they'd be okay with that. But they're also tasked...
Documents.
Correct. They're also tasked with providing the bailiff for the Justice of the Peace, for the JP. So those two things are what they do primarily. Now, because of that, they're not call responsive. They're not tethered to the radio like the SO deputies, who have to take the calls as they're dropped. They have to run those calls. The constables don't have to. They have the ability to if they wanted to, in between serving papers. So my commitment to the community would be that's not going to waver. We're still going to serve the papers as need be. We're still going to provide the JP, but in between those serving the warrants, they're still going to go out and help the SO, help the PD.
Okay, so they're going to partner with the other law enforcement.
Yes.
Okay.
When I was on SWAT, for 11 years, I was a special deputy with the U.S. Marshals. We were tasked with serving the violent offender warrants all on the Gulf Coast. And so all we did was serve warrants, go out and all over, Galveston, Montgomery County, Harris County, all the surrounding areas. We'd run warrants, but we also were call responsive. In case something happened, we were able to go. And so that's what I'm going to still provide for the deputies, or for the Precinct 2, is our deputies are still going to run the warrants, the civil process. They're still going to provide the JP, but in between those, if there's a call and SO needs help, they will be there. If the PD needs help, they will be there. And that's going to be something that I make it clear day one, is that we're a force multiplier.
That's interesting. I like that. All right. So you've kind of answered the other thought I had, is how important is it to partner with other law enforcement? And you're basically saying that was going to be one of the important things that you make sure gets done.
Not just law enforcement, the fire and EMS,
all of it.
All of it. Like I said, I'm a licensed paramedic, and I did volunteer as a volunteer firefighter for several years, and I've been associated with different fire departments when I've worked EMS. But as a planner in OEM, we had to be able to work with everybody. It's a one community response. Just God forbid we have an active shooter incident here, everybody's coming. God forbid we have a bombing, everybody's gonna be there. You have to be able to work with not just public safety, but with the community and our partners, our community partners. Our HEB, our Home Depot, because we rely on them heavily when it comes to hurricane response, hurricane recovery. So I already have those relationships, being that I, as a special deputy with the U.S. Marshals, being that I've done EMS, fire, and as a planner with emergency management, I coordinated a lot of those events and had to bring in those planners or those community partners to plan the response or a training environment.
So you have those relationships
Yes,
already
in
place. And you're on the Montgomery County Veterans Memorial
I am.
Commission?
I'm a commission member for
Okay.
about 3 years now.
3 years.
Yep.
And you've lived in Montgomery County how long?
Well, total about 19 years. I did take a 2-year break, unfortunately. I moved to Harris County at the time, and we found a bigger house. Again, family of seven kids, wife and I. We're limited on houses, so we found a house down there, and that was the biggest mistake. We moved down there. We moved back immediately after our lease was up, and since about 2003, with a 2-year break. Yeah.
How old is your oldest and the
My
youngest?
My oldest is 26, and that's who I have my oldest granddaughter with. And then my youngest is about to be 7 on February 15th. So about 10 days away. Big spectrum, wide spectrum.
Okay, yes. Anything else you would like people to know about you?
Most of everything I do is for the community. I've given back. I've been on so many committees and so many boards, not just the Veterans Commission. I'm on the Montgomery County Fire Association. I was the vice president of the Conroe Area Girls Softball Association. I've been on several boards for the Republican Party, from the Pachyderms to the first interim president of the Hispanic Conservatives. So I'm active in the community. I was even please don't get mad, but I was also the president of our HOA for the first year. And then my wife was like, "What were you doing? What were you thinking?"
That's a crazy place.
Yeah,
huh?
the HOAs is not a place to.
Right.
If you want peace and quiet, don't get on an HOA. But if you are, congratulations. Yeah, no, anybody who's listening. Yeah. But again, I give back to the community. I do everything I do is for the community. You know, I have 7 kids. 4 of them have graduated from Conroe ISD, from Conroe High School, and I have 3 in the Conroe system. So, you know, public safety, especially for our children, is paramount for me. You know, I do active shooter training and active shooter training response, in what I like to say, places of worship, churches, synagogues, temples. I've never been in a mosque. They haven't invited me, but I've been into the other 3. I've been into daycares, private businesses. So, but everything I do, I can also do in Spanish. So I'm bilingual, I'm fluent, and, you know, so all the classes I offer, I could do them in Spanish as well. So it's not just, you know, the Republican. You know, I'm running as a Republican, but I'm not just for the Republican Party community. I'm for the entire community.
Right.
I just feel that I can have wide reaching.
Your opponent's Republican as well.
Correct. My opponent's Republican
and
as well.
There's not a Democrat.
There's not. We're unopposed in the Democratic race. Right. So this March 5th will be the determining factor. But I'm all about the community. It doesn't matter religion, sex, creed, race, ethnicity. It's everybody deserves to feel safe in this community.
And Precinct 2 does not align with Precinct 1 for, let's say, Justice of the Peace. They're dissimilar. They have some overlap. So just because you're in Precinct 1 doesn't mean you're not in Constable Precinct 2, right?
Correct. So
they're not lined out the same.
So the JPs, the Justice of the Peace, and the constables are aligned, but the commissioners are not. So if you're in Precinct 1 commissioner, there's portions of it that comes into Precinct 2 constables. So all JPs, all constables, lines are aligned. It's the commissioners. That are different.
Okay,
Correct.
I knew there was somebody.
Precinct 2 is very distinct. We actually have 3 commissioners that come into Precinct 2 as a constable's office jurisdiction. Yeah, it's confusing. It's very confusing because I have people tell me like, "Oh, I can't vote for you. I live in Precinct 1. I'm like, Precinct 1 commissioner or Precinct 1 constables? And they're like, I don't know. And so we'll usually look it up, and they're like, I did not know that. So it's very confusing, yes. You have to go and look at your voter's registration card.
Yep, and
it
it'll
tells
tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go to mctx.org / and then go to elections and find it there too.
Yep, you can do a street search and look up your address.
Today's the last day to
register
check
to vote.
your yes.
For the March 5th election. Correct, yes.
Correct. Okay, you have to get on that. Okay, so anything else that you would like people to know?
No, I mean, if they want to learn some more about me, just visit my my social media page, or they could go to my website, Pena for Precinct 2 Constable.
Can they contact you personally?
They can, yes. They can reach me there. It's got my contact information. Social media, they can message me on Messenger there, and I'm usually pretty responsive. I'm pretty busy right now with 15 days to early voting and 30 days till election day.
Do you have some other forums coming up?
We have several forums coming up. We have one on the 15th, the Chamber's having one. We have one on the 7th, the Woodforest area Republicans having one. So we have several coming up, and several meet and greets and just general fundraisers going on. Not my personal fundraisers.
Boom.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot.
It is. I like to say this is the sprint of the marathon.
Right.
We're at the 100-meter left right now, and now we're full speed to the finish line.
And what are you going to do in February when the election, in March, March 6th, what are you going to do?
Well, unfortunately, it doesn't
take a break?
No, we have to take all the signs down.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we have to take all our signs down because most of them, will get thrown away if we don't take them down promptly. But that first weekend, I think I'm going to just sit at home and
do nothing.
Yes.
Hang out with the kids, family.
Yeah, the kids have been helping. It's not just me. It's the family who pays the price.
They're all in it.
It's the total. My wife's also running for precinct chair.
Oh.
So precinct chair of 86. So she's also a candidate.
Busy.
So she's also a candidate. And our kids, we go to event. They're helping us with just everything at home that has to do with the campaign. They're helping us with it, organize and gather. Oh yeah.
You got 7.
I do. Well, three of them are at home. 4 of them are out of the house. but 3 of them are still at home. So yeah, they help quite a bit.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay. So they can go to your website,
Yes, ma'am.
and you have Pena for Constable 2 on Facebook, and the same. I like
Yes.
that. It's
Yep.
consistency.
Yep. It's easy.
Very good.
It's easy.
Yeah. So contact Daniel to find out more information and find out where he's going to be next, and talk to him in person, because that's really the best way to get educated, is talk to people, explore, get educated, go to their websites, and before you vote, don't just blindly vote.
Correct.
Vote for the candidate
ma'am.
of choice. How long are you in that role? If you were to get that,
It's a 4-year term.
4 years.
4-year term, yes. And then we'd have to run again
And
in
then you
4
run
years.
again, probably before the end, probably the 3rd year you would start running again,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Usually about a year out. Yeah. And technically, once you're in, I mean, it's you're still going to a bunch of events, and you're still in the public eye. So the last year would be back at it again.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a commitment.
It is. It is. This is not
Okay.
something that you just jump into and without thought. I had to talk to the wife about a year or
course.
2 before.
No- no surprises.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you very much
Thank you.
for coming on the show, and good luck, and we'll see you around town.
Thank you. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right.
Yes.